Welcome to the 2017 Canadian Outdoor Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, and I will be commentating today. I will be joined by Robbie Law here shortly. Feature match here in the quarterfinals, we have John Bjornson, who's on the mat delivering right now, from Manitoba, competing against Pat Bird from Alberta. Players have already played their trials, so they're off starting the first end. I believe last night in the first knockout rounds, round of 16, Pat Bird played Peter Moak and defeated him in straight sets, I believe. And John Bjornson beat Leo Dusablon in a tiebreaker, which both were really good games to watch. So John has the red bowls and Pat has the tricolor bowls. And good morning, Robbie. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Jake. I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Stellar. Hopefully in for a good match here.
Rematch of last year's finals. It's exciting.
That's right. That's right.
Hopefully the wind won't be too much of a factor today.
Yeah, I'm really hoping not. When I looked at the weather forecast earlier in the week, it said today was supposed to be the blusteriest day of the week, which is kind of scary since Tuesday was already
crazy
windy.
Yeah.
But that was a week ago, so who knows? Things could have changed.
Definitely looking at the flags, they're moving a little bit, but doesn't feel like too much of a gust over here.
John just crashed onto Pat's bowl there. Once again, we got Malcolm Taylor, or I guess Malky Taylor, operating one of the cameras, and down at the other end, I think it's Bob
Buchanan.
Hats off to them. Up on the scaffolding, getting a good tan on. Any early predictions for this game?
Well, I think it comes down to who can play steadiest here. These are both top bowlers. See John winning 2 years ago back in Winnipeg, and Pat obviously beating John in the finals last year, so definitely set for a great match off here. Obviously being the Manitoba boy, maybe cheering for John a little bit here.
These were my two top picks, I guess, going into this event for who I thought would be in the final. They're playing here in the quarters, so only one will move on. I would not be surprised if this goes down to a tiebreak, though.
No.
These two guys are both very steady. So I believe the Birdman got off to a 2-0 start. Pat, of course, is very used to playing in windy conditions, as is John. Both of them have played in southern hemisphere climates before.
Yeah, definitely get a little bit of wind down there. Shouldn't affect the bowls as much as it does there for sure, but I remember at camp, that was one thing that we had talked about a lot, was how to play in the wind and different strategies you can use for that, and Pat was definitely a leader in the discussion there for sure.
Yeah, Pat does a really good job of sharing what he knows.
Well, we were even talking earlier about Pat's warm-up there, where he's tossing a ball around and saying that he had read something somewhere and said it was scientifically proven to start firing your neurons. So kind of interesting. He's got a lot of knowledge for the game. Very disciplined routine as well.
I can definitely get behind that, playing catch with the ball. Just it's something that gets you focusing right away in sort of a good warm-up manner.
Get the arm a little loose too, which is always good.
Next door, David James Smith against Bob Van Wellingham. DJ got off to a 1-0 start, as Pat just rests off of John's bowl there to lie one.
definitely starting to pick up now.
Yeah, things are starting to get a little breezy here.
Never fails right before a game.
Pat's looking to just draw inside John, and he does that. What a bowl.
Great bowl.
What a bowl. That's number one, I think. John's asking if that is in fact shot, and
yeah,
Betty says yes. And John's coming up well short on that. That's kind of surprising. I thought he might play a little more aggressively into that since he's down one.
I think he'd definitely play to be up or through at least.
Mm-hmm. They've changed the rink centers here as well, so nobody's played on these exact rinks here this morning, or all day for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a little challenging for some.
Definitely will be different lines. The whites definitely do run a little different than the blacks, which we've been playing all week, so all the greens are shifted about a half green over now, so.
I'm curious if that'll make this rink run a little better on both hands, as the one hand was a little straighter that we were streaming all week.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a consideration here. A little bit away from the ditch, too.
Mm-hmm.
Although there was a wide hand on the other side, so you might see that hold was a little bit out, kind of further towards where the 6 would be now, so.
Pat's coming up well short there. John's coming down to take a look before he throws his last bowl. And he's down one in the head. John did end up displacing Pat's, but I don't think quite enough. I think Pat's still lying one there. Yep, they're quick to call it. Since we are into the knockout rounds, once it is mathematically impossible, they can just skip right along into the next set.
So it looks like they're actually going to be facing a bit of a headwind today.
Mm-hmm.
Which will make, I guess, going away from home maybe a little bit heavier for them. Be interested to see if we see some short bowls coming this way.
I think Pat might have been consciously thinking about that as he was a little through, not much, but
doesn't look as wide on that, I guess, left side or against the ditch side as it was. It seems to be holding actually pretty straight for them today.
mm-hmm. Just doesn't want to seem to come back to the center line there.
No. John will probably be looking to play a little bit heavier here. Cover off those back bowls of Pat.
Well, he finally found the line.
Yeah, he got a center bowl there.
Pretty good bowl.
Nice shot.
Curious if Pat will switch hands here, as he's been struggling to get back to the center line with his first two.
Looks like he's still favoring that.
Yeah, still stuck into the same hand. Pat's also a lefty while John's a righty, so they can take slightly different lines.
I'm always interested to ask this, but so in a game, say you're playing a left-hander and you're right-handed, they find the center line quite well with their bowls. How do you counteract that? If you can, if you're struggling, obviously, to find it. Do you move on the mat much, or?
Yeah, if I'm really struggling and can't find that center line, then I'll be moving around left, right, up, back, something like that, and then I'll also end up moving the mat up and back if I ever get it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's all you need to do is just move the mat up 6-10 feet and you can find the line.
Nice bowl by John here again.
Great shot there by John.
I found that against Michael Leong this week, actually. Yeah, he playing left-handed as well. On our green, he seemed to, just the way he was letting go of his bowls, they'd really find a nice curl for him, whereas just from my point of release, especially in trial ends and the first couple ends, I noticed just wasn't finding that same kind of curl. So I ended up having to move all the way to the left side of my mat and try and counteract that and find that same angle as him, and it worked fairly well, actually.
There are times where I'll also just settle to be within, a mat length wide or narrow of the jack and not be looking to be too perfect onto the jack.
Especially in this opening set, we had talked about that earlier, kind of how aggressive do you play it. Maybe just draw in, find your draw weight, and try and make sure you're on top of your game for that second and tie break, hopefully.
I like how Shirley put it, that if you win the first set, it's almost like having an extra point on the board, because then you can tie that last set and be okay rather than having to win it.
Exactly, yeah. Pat coming with a little bit of weight, maybe.
Just inside.
Nice close.
So John has a chance here to tie things up. I was kind of surprised that John got off to a slow start this week. Wasn't as powerhouse hungry as I thought he would be.
Well, also, I know John, being the perfectionist he is, definitely probably had a lot on his mind. Co-chairing these championships.
Yep, big thanks to him and Phil for putting together a crew of volunteers, host organizing committee, and getting everything rolling. I know it can't be easy to both play and organize, but he's done a great job.
He's coming a little tight here.
Yeah, it's well narrow.
Fourth bowls have seemed to be a little difficult for both sides here today.
Apparently that was enough to be in the count, though.
Yeah.
Pat's conceding a roll of the dice.
Wow. His back bowls must have been a little further than we thought.
Yeah, I guess so. Ends in the book, and John's taking a 1-point lead. Big thanks to our partners and sponsors, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, Kukri, our official clothing supplier, and lawnbowlingmanager.com. Also big thanks to all the volunteers and all the umpires for making this event a go. 80 volunteers is quite a few. That's a beautiful bowl there from John.
Especially in Manitoba, I think we have just over 200 bowlers, maybe. So
almost half of the provinces out here helping.
Yeah. I could also have that number wrong, but definitely, I think from Norwood we have just over 100. So it's great to see this kind of support of a Canadian Championship here.
Next door, Bob Van is up 2-1 over David James Smith. Claire Day and Mary Wright are all tied up at 2. Mike McNorton has grabbed a 4-1 lead over Kevin Dusablant.
It looks like Kevin might get 2 here, so
make that 4-3 then for Mike. Jerome Kirby's up 5-1 over Derek Dillon. And Betty Van Willingham's up 3-2 over Jordan Koss. Interesting, they've got the guys and girls sort of mingled together here. It used to be guys on one half, girls on the other half. But now they've mixed them in together.
I think that's due to random draw. I think that was what Ed was doing. John unfortunately rested his own bull off there and opened up the door for Pat, but he'll be looking to make a little trail here.
Pat's asking if he's holding 2, and Betty's going to go up and take a look there. Can't quite tell. 1 and a measure. I think Pat's coming up just a shade. Well,
that might actually work.
Might work. I thought he was coming up just a little bit short, but that's probably in the count. I'd be sorely tempted to blast at that if I was John. Got everything at the back.
Looks like he is.
He's throwing some weight into this.
Oh.
Inside.
High scoring game right now. I've seen a lot of multiple ends scored here.
Pat's coming down to take a look at this.
Now, if you're Pat, do you play to rest that back bull of John's out, maybe? Could get a nice 4 count back here.
I was going to say, if he's lying 3 already right now, then he wouldn't need to change anything off of his first 3, but that is all dependent on if he's actually lying 3. Big opportunity here for Pat. And as you said, this is a high-scoring affair. This will be another multiple unless he drastically changes something. I think he might be trying to rest John's out.
I think he's coming a little... Oh. I wonder if that'll actually change things against him there. John's bull did fall in.
Just needed a 1/8 of an inch more to get it.
That's great yard on weight there. Pat actually finished almost exactly maybe a yard behind John's bull.
And Pat's going to quickly get down and measure, not waste any time here. Not sure if that's 2 or 1.
Let's see what the signal is here. Oh, it might just be 1. Tied game going into 4 here. Or after 4, I guess.
Yeah, after 4.
Pat's asking for a replay of that last bull of his.
That is something I've actually been wanting to play around with, because there's a replay function on here, but need to activate it, and it's only good for a minute, so I'd have to know something's coming a minute beforehand.
expecting with a shorter length here.
I'm surprised he didn't bring the mat way up, as I recall playing against him before that he used to bring the mat up to the hog line all the time. That's how we played our bronze medal match 2 years ago, is that we just kept the mat at the hog line all the time. And I saw him doing that earlier this week as well, but electing to keep the mat back here and just play a shorter jack. Which John is capitalizing on.
Yeah, both these guys are two good finesse bowlers there.
Mm-hmm. Last year's winner and the year before that.
Yeah, well, we were talking earlier too. John played a rematch of the gold medal 2 years ago last night against Leo Dusablon, winning that one in a tiebreaker, and now he's going to be playing the rematch of last year's final.
No easy road.
No, definitely not. A great field of men out this week, and women as well.
Jan Robinson and Marie Taylor both finished at the top, so they had byes through to the semis. So right now the women's quarterfinals are going on. Jordan and Betty Van against Claire and Mary Wright, trying to make it through to the semis. John wants to know the count, and
it should be one for sure.
Yeah,
one a measure.
One and a measure. Do you normally ask for the count when you're playing singles?
Sometimes I'm toss-up. I prefer to look at it myself, but definitely in a tighter situation, I'm going to be curious to know. But no, most times I'm just going to take a look for myself.
Got a bit of a blurry camera here.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
John's going to go down and take a look. Yeah, when I play singles, I normally don't really care too much about the count, as it doesn't really change my shot, whether I'm lying 1, 2, or 3. I'm still probably playing the same shot.
Yeah, that's the one thing, is usually draw bowl kind of thing. So
the only time I might ask the count is if I'm down, to know just how many. If I'm only down 1, then I might fire at it. If I'm down 4, then I'm just going to draw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's I think that's a good way to put it. Most of the time, if I'm asking, it's usually because I'm going to be down 1 or 2, or trying to figure out what the count is against me.
But yeah, I guess I probably follow what you do, and normally I go and see for myself. I don't usually ask a whole lot.
No. Let's see what John does here. Looking for a little touch of the jack, maybe. Interesting.
I'm not really sure why it's so blurry there. I might have to hop up the scaffolding and see if there's a different setting on the camera.
It looks like it's just focused in front there, maybe, actually.
It's just taking a while to focus, I guess. Weird. Ernest the cat is back, dressed all in green.
Yes, the Banjo Bowl is played today, so I think Ernie might actually be taking a trip down to our new Investors Group field in Winnipeg to watch the Bombers take on the Rough Riders this morning, or I guess this afternoon. It'll be, I think, cheering on the Bombers, knowing Ernie, so he'll fit right in with the crowd.
decked all in green. I'm sure they'd love to have him cheering on the Bombers.
Yeah, you can probably spot him on your TV if you go take a look. I'm sure it'll be all blue and gold except for Ernie.
Except for Ernie.
Some tight games going on over here. David James versus Bob, all tied up after 5 at 3.
I would expect a lot of them to end up going to tiebreakers or to be very close like this.
Yes, yeah.
Pat has a pretty good draw there, just coming up a few inches short.
I think John's actually switched his hand here on this going home here. He's playing the ditch side now.
Yeah, you're right. Interesting choice. It seems to be working for him though. He's
going to draw nicely
draw
here.
a nice
Beautiful.
shot here. I'd say he's part greenskeeper here, although I guess Trevor does a good chunk of that work. But
yeah, I think both John and Bob actually are. I think they like to be quite involved with it, cutting the grass, rolling it some mornings. But yeah, Trevor does a great amount of work here, and a lot of little technical stuff. You know, fine balancing any pesticides or anything that's needed for the green.
just missed the
behind. A very nice spot for it, though.
Absolutely. So I feel like Pat's probably just going to be looking to roll his own into the count here. I wouldn't expect him to change hands. And yet he did. Chipped it back to John.
A little unfortunate break there. Although it probably will force John to the other hand there.
Yeah, I would think so. A little last bull coming up here. John's already lying one. Pretty easy draw here for two. Assuming he can figure out the line in white.
Well, even if he plays it a little narrow on here, drawn back to the center line, he could rest Pat's out. Assuming he gets a little excited with the bull.
Depending how tight he is, he could wish off any of those short bowls as well.
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent wall there to use. And I think he will end up having to use someone, but...
Wrong person.
Got him square. So that'll be one for the Viking to tie things up at 5. Told that she has ancestors, I believe, from Iceland, I was told.
Yeah, he definitely is Icelandic.
Would you say this is more of a medium length, I guess?
Yeah, it looks a little bit longer. Interestingly, John's been rolling pretty well on those short ones too, so.
Pretty evenly matched here, these two.
Mm-hmm.
All tied up at 5.
Oh, John looked like he got a little excited on that first one there.
I think Pat is also a little behind.
Nice adjustment by John here.
Much better bowl there.
He switched his hands there again.
Next door, Bob Van has taken a 5-3 lead over DJ. Mary Wright is up 8-4 over Claire Day. Jerome Kirby up 6-3 over Derek Dillon. And Jordan Koss taking a 7-3 lead over Betty. I think Kevin Dieselblon's up 9-6 over Mike McNorton right now as well.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Winners of all these games will advance through to the semis, which will be taking place around 12:30 local time. Interesting, John took a really wide swoop around the head there, looking at it from a whole bunch of different angles.
And did they signal that John was up in the head there, or is he down right now?
I actually don't know. Quite a bit of space between all the bowls, though. It's still a pretty wide open draw
wide
here.
open there.
On the right-handed forehand.
John might be worried maybe it's cutting over a little bit on him.
He is going to try it, though.
He'll likely be looking to tickle the jack back a little bit. Definitely has the weight to do it.
That should be number 1.
There you go, yeah.
Pat's using the fingers, though, so it must be close. Pat Bird's decked out all in white. Something I would never do intentionally.
Definitely a classic lawn bowling look, though.
Yeah, yes it is.
Although one thing we've kind of seen this year is new shirts and everything from all the most provinces.
Yeah,
It's, definitely getting a new look to the game, which is a great kind of exciting touch.
It's quite nice to be at the majors and seeing all the different colored jerseys.
Hopefully Manitoba can follow suit soon.
Pretty good bowl there from Pat. Unfortunate result, though, as he just kicked it back to John.
That's not gonna Gonna fare nicely for Pat there. Getting distracted here by Kevin and Mike's game. Looks like might be measuring for 3 actually for Kevin, which would close the set out. So Mike could be looking to score at least the 1 here.
Try to keep his hopes alive. Wasn't in fact one for John.
Those back balls must have been a lot farther than we thought there, because
yeah, I thought he might have had more than one on that.
Yeah, Jack got kicked back and still.
Two to go left in this first set.
So Mike is still alive over there, just gave up 1 there, so 10-6 going into their last end, so they're playing at a pretty fast pace today. So is Bob Van and DJ playing their last end. DJ up 6-5. Made a nice little comeback he must have.
Yeah.
He's down 5-3 not too long ago, so.
Looking across, pretty much every game is within reach for everyone, though. Nothing is overly blowoutish.
No. Big gust of wind there.
Pretty good opening bowl there from John.
Yeah, be looking to give himself a bit of a cushion going into the last end here.
I think I find this end here to be the most important.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Do you think, like, obviously if you're Pat, do you want to have the hammer in that last end, or and maybe be down 2, or would you prefer to be either tied or up 1 coming home and not have the hammer?
Oh, definitely tied or up 1. There's no way I'd want to be down 2. That's too much in a singles game to try to come back from in one end. That puts a whole lot of pressure on you, and you can't play as many shots as you normally would.
Yeah, I guess you're quite limited hands tied. Although John's going to be pushing pressure here.
Ooh. Yeah, this is a huge turning point for both players, because if John can count, then he's really putting the pressure on Pat going into the last end. But if Pat can count here, then it's anybody's game going into that last end. This looks like a much better bowl here from Pat.
Nice adjustment here. Well, that still leaves that trail open for John that he's been quite close on the last 2 bowls. So
doesn't need to change a whole lot.
No. Looks like he's really coming down fast here now.
I think he's just playing aggressively into it to get Jack or bowl, and he's a little wide though.
Oh, got a little touch.
I believe that's still going to be 1 for Pat though.
It definitely does look good from here. Yeah, marker signals that it's 1 Pat.
Pat was getting some clarity there, as Pat's bowl is 6 inches in front of the Jack, and John's is 1.5 feet behind, according to Betty. I do like watching Pat's delivery. It's very smooth, and it pulls him off the mat a little bit, and so he takes 3 paces forward, but very consistent.
I think a lot of biomechanics in that delivery. Like, when you look at the way he moves his momentum from the back to the front quite nicely.
Big opportunity here for John, as he can grab either Jack or Pat's bowl to be lying several.
Unfortunately, will likely have to change his hands to play that shot. It's too bad when you've been playing so close on the other hand for the last 3 bowls.
Yeah, really. Pat's probably kicking himself here though, as all 3 of his bowls are in front of the Jack right now. chair of the High Performance Committee, Don Caswell, is here, and I know he's been telling me quite a bit how many short bowls he's seen, and he's had a few discussions with players saying, what on earth are you doing? Get a back full. And not just you, I know he talked to you a little bit, but he's been watching other games as well, and is just surprised how many people aren't getting back bowls and how much of a difference that makes, as John has a big chance here just based on the fact that Pat doesn't have any back bowls.
Yeah, sadly I had to have that talk with him earlier.
John's close.
Oh. Just nicked it.
That's twice now. He just needed a quarter-inch more off the jack to be lying a bunch. I wouldn't be surprised if Pat's a little hesitant playing into this. Might be content to take the one and tie things up going into the final end of the set.
Yeah, you'd really hate to knock yours and touch that jack.
Mm-hmm. Gonna have to be very, very delicate with his weight here. But given that he's been short, I don't think that he's gonna be playing overly aggressive into it. So it looks like Jordan Koss won the first set, 7-6.
And I believe Mary Wright also won her first set there. Bit of a discussion as to whether they had to play the last end, I believe. So John signaling one to Pat there. So they'll be tied up going into their last end here. In other games, Bob and David James actually tied that last set, so they'll be looking for next win. Get that game point. Kevin Dusepont looks like he's sitting up 4 with Mike's last bowl to be coming here. Not sure what's going on in the head, but and Jerome and Derek Dillon are going into their last end. Derek needing a 5 here, I guess, so Derek's actually out of this set. So Pat elects to go long here on the jack, kind of interesting, especially considering those short bowls in the last end. So it looks like Mike just missed his last shot there, so Kevin will take that set off of him.
I'm trying to left tweet here, so bear with me if I'm not talking a whole lot.
John playing just behind there.
So I've tweeted about Jordan, David James, Mike McNorton, and Kevin. What else am I missing?
You can tweet about Jerome's for sure. That set's done, although Derek is making a great little comeback in the score here. I think he's getting 3 there. Oh, 2 bowls to come maybe though. Interesting they're playing that last end over there, as net points won't matter at this point. You just win and you're in.
It looks like Mary Wright took the first set over Claire Day.
Yeah, she did. So John's just trying to figure out who's shot down here. Let's see. The marker indicates Pat is shot. And once again, we're seeing that end setup of John's got 2 back bowls back there, and Pat's bowls are jack high or just in front. Sorry about the blurry camera again.
There we go. It's focused.
Focused again. Both players electing to go take a look at the head. Although quite a loose head right now. I think the draw would probably be the shot.
Yeah,
especially.
We'd definitely just be trying to draw that, but I guess sometimes it's good to go down and take a look just to see exactly how far away you are, how much weight you need.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of always going after your third bull?
I like to go after my third bull, and it's actually not always to see the head. I find it keeps me really in the game. It's a good way to kind of keep my momentum almost going forward. Just get kind of keep yourself focused, feel like things are rolling. A good way to center yourself before you throw your fourth bull. I know some people say you don't want to get your heart rate up, but personally I seem to be able to calm myself more or less.
I haven't really seen either of these players consistently following their third bowl. The one player that I did notice this week was Claire Day, would always go down after her third bowl.
Nice draw by Pat here.
Must be a tricky spot to get to as they've got it surrounded.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like there must be a hold there because except for John's first two bowls, they've all finished outside that center line on the left there. Maybe Pat's first one was a little over center, but... switching his hands here. I don't know if he likes it. I think he's a little heavy.
Yeah, definitely didn't like that based on his reaction. A little wide, I think.
It's kind of a tough shot to switch on your last bowl. I know in my game against Bob yesterday in the last end of the tiebreaker, I had to draw in for that third shot to force it to an extra, and on my third bowl I considered switching and decided that I wouldn't because I had just drawn two there, although it was quite tight. And third bowl didn't work, and then on my fourth one I had to switch, so I was kicking myself after that. I didn't get myself a test bowl almost on that I guess it was my forehand.
But you almost had it though on your fourth bowl. You were very close.
Yeah, I caught the outside of the bowl when I needed the inside of it, which is unfortunate, but part of the game, I guess.
So I believe Pat Bird took two there to take the set. Apologies, I haven't been keeping up to date with the end count, but that was actually the ninth end.
So just checking if this jack's in bounds over here. Both players taking a look. And they're signaling it's good. So now each game has their second set on the go. Should have some exciting finishes here. Be interested to see who can kind of turn it around in that second set. Turn the burners on. And John having a nice open here. Electing to play that ditch hand as well as Pat now. Sorry, missed Pat's delivery there. But Pat's running nicely right now. Keep going. Still a little short again. Definitely something Pat's going to be looking to maybe correct in the second set. Not something I noticed early on, but definitely at the end of that first set he was struggling to get those bowls a little behind. John coming in nicely again here. Just inside again. Pat's got a little more steam on this one. Holding it wide though, unfortunately. Not good as I guess could be that that straight spot we saw all week on rink number. I guess that would have been 8 over here.
Yep.
That straight hand, so might have been a bit of that going on.
Yep. I know Pat's all too familiar with that straight spot. He was.
He played John Seidman that first day here. Didn't
That's
he?
right.
Yeah.
Jack got chipped out there and he couldn't get to it, but then the next end when he didn't need to get to it, he got hung out there.
John playing a position bowl there, or maybe just a heavy draw, unfortunately, but nonetheless great position on that shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, that was something Don and I had talked about after, I guess, my second day playing. Don had watched and commented on my short bowls, and it's something I've been tracking this year, so I actually made the comment that on games where I had less than 10 short bowls, or 10 bowls that were not in front of the jack there, actually ended up winning those games versus any game where I had more than 10 shots that were short of the jack. I was unfortunately losing. So interesting what kind of, maybe there's a correlation there, or that could have been a coincidence, but throughout the year I found that actually seems to hold pretty consistent.
It's interesting that you were tracking that as well.
That was definitely a comment that Daryl had made when we were down in the World Youth Cup this year, was that short bowls were killing. So something I had been tracking all year, and yeah, not too impressed with them sometimes. It can be a little frustrating to mark another tick down in the book, but
yeah.
And also something I've noticed is it's quite difficult to actually correct in a game. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you're playing, you can tell yourself don't be short, but quite often you end up pulling that short because you're trying so hard, or end up rocking it right through the head. So
Yeah.
John opened up with a 2 there, which is a nice little score.
Good to see that you're tracking stuff, though. I know that's one thing that the High Performance Committee is trying to get all players to do, start tracking how they're doing in their drills and whatnot, and that's something that I know I'm very partial to, is keeping track of how you're doing, because that way you can actually look back instead of just saying, well, I know I played well, but this way you can actually look back and say, well, I played really well here, and here.
Yeah, and also it's I think it's good to be conscious. It gives you kind of a subconscious way to look at those short bowls sometimes. So actually I found that after about the first week of keeping track of them, I was consistently throwing less short bowls in a game, which I thought was kind of interesting. Although after this week, Don, I'll probably tell you I'm throwing more short bowls, I'm sure.
I know the toughest part for some people is to not let that get in your head when you're keeping track of stats. I know when we first started doing it, some people started to sort of fixate on getting that check mark rather than actually try to play their bowl to where it needs to go.
Yeah, and that's why I chose this year to just keep track of short bowls. Kind of start small. But I know I definitely would have that issue too, focusing on boosting your stats almost instead of going for the game win.
Yep. When I was in Hong Kong a few years back playing fours, I found it quite useful that Greg, who was our skip, kept track of stats for the whole team, and then someone kept track of stats for him, I think. But that way I didn't have to think about whether I was getting a check mark or not. I didn't actually see how I was doing on paper, so I wasn't really thinking about it that much. I was just thinking about playing my game. So I found that to be really useful, to not be keeping track of my own stats.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Well, and also a little bit of a conflict of interest keeping your own stats too.
Made a whole lot of sense to me to have the skip to it because he's down there and you can see exactly how close you are or aren't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're not guessing from the mat.
So I'm curious to see who's shot down there right now. John Drew just behind Jack High, and Pat's a little out. Oh,
I believe
that's going to be a shot.
That ball just rolled over. I was going to say I think it's Pat, but after that I'm not sure anymore.
That wind may be giving John a little bit of help there.
Local knowledge?
Yeah. Call the breeze. Great weather though this week, and considering the first day of practice we had that crazy thunderstorm which rolled in about under a half hour all of a sudden. But since then we've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, no kidding. That thunderstorm was quick though. Turn around in black skies, and 5 minutes later it's on you and just...
And hail.
And hail too.
Lots of hail, yeah. That was crazy.
No, it's been good here. Couldn't ask for better.
John's coming a little heavy maybe. Or perfect. Never mind.
Yeah, or perfect. That's definitely shot. I'm not sure why our camera's so blurry here. It's taking a while to adjust. Wondering if the glare of the sun has anything to do with that.
Maybe.
When we were talking about keeping track of stats, one way that we do it is by seeing if your bowl's within a mat length in any direction of the jack, or if your target, if you're looking for a back bowl, then to have a specific spot where you want it to get to, and then a mat length within that. I know some people have never kept track of stats before, so that's generally how we do it.
And a good way to get into it too, right? Definitely not too late to start.
We were watching curling last night, and I was asking how do you keep track of stats, because in curling they always show, the vice is bowling 87% or 93% or whatever, and I feel like that's a really good measurement tool to be able to see if you're actually bowling well or not.
Yeah, though also interesting, we were talking about how they had only thrown 6 rocks yesterday, and somehow we're throwing 97%, so I'm sure there's a mathematician out there that could tell us exactly how that's possible, but we were just a little stumped as we were sitting on the couch there.
Yeah, the math didn't really add up to me to have 6 rocks and be 97%. I didn't really know how that worked, but that's a pretty good bowl there from Pat.
Yeah.
Damn, that is a tight head.
That bull just fell again.
I know growing up I used to play with Cody, and he used to keep track after every tournament of our wins and losses, so he could look back over 6 years and see which years he won more than he lost, or what the scores were and whatnot. So that was a good initial start to tracking, so he could look back and watch his games progress over the years.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Something I never did. I know 1 year in Ontario I think I played in probably 60 tournaments, so that would have been a whole lot of...
There have been a lot of games to track,
a lot of games to track, yeah.
So looks like they pulled that one bowl of Pat's out for sure.
And we'll be measuring from there. I think it was just the one.
Getting a big gust of wind here.
Yeah, really.
Apologies for any loud wind.
Yeah, wind
you're hearing
interference
at home.
After tying the first set, next door, David James Smith up 5-0 over Bob Van Willingham.
Yeah, Bob's going to be looking to turn that around right about now. He's coming in heavy on his third bowl there, though.
Jerome Kirby up 3-0 over Derek Dillon.
Could take that straight sets maybe. He's drawing a beautiful fourth bowl there. Interestingly, the second set, some people seem to have gotten a really good jump on it. Jordan's up 4-0 on Betty. Jerome up 3-0. Kevin's up 3-0, probably measuring for fourth maybe. 4-1, 5-0, and then our game is the one game that's within one bowl right now, which is So did you have any certain ways that you wanted to get a jump on the second set? Any routines that you took, or?
Depends how I'm playing. There might be something that I notice in the first set, and if I'm already winning, I'm not gonna change what I'm doing. Or if I'm losing and it's out of reach, then I won't pull it out of my pocket until we start the second set. So if I notice that they're really struggling on their forehand or really struggling with a mat up, short length jack or whatever, then I'll wait till the second set, and then as soon as the second set starts, then I'll whip that out and try to confound them right off the get-go. But it really does depend on how the game is going. If I haven't noticed anything like that, or if it's a tight game and I was already using that to try to win the first set, then I guess I'm really just trying to draw and not
keep the pressure going.
Yeah, exactly. Not change too much from what I've been doing if it's a close game.
Well, I always find it interesting. Like, we play a singles league here in Manitoba, and it's sets play, just to kind of keep the time down. And quite often you see that the second set, whoever has won it, actually quite struggles in the second set there after that first set win. Which I always find interesting. It's almost like a whole new game. No matter what the score was in that first set, you see a lot closer of a second set. Or if it's a very close first set, you see some sort of blowout in the second set.
Yep.
Which I always find quite interesting.
Yeah, the games usually change quite a bit from one set to the other. Things are getting very blustery here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So it looks like John might be lying one here. One bowl for each still to come as Pat makes his way back down to the other end.
And Pat definitely got in a lot better position this end, hey? He's got the 2 bowls behind and the 1 bowl in, which is great.
Much better position to be in, that's for sure. You always want to make sure you have at least 1 back bowl.
Here.
I think he's jack hunting. Not sure if he was going for the jack or if he was trying to push John's bowl.
Out maybe, yeah. Yeah, that trail would have been very lucrative for him.
I'm sure John's going to be extra cautious of that and just looking to draw wide, let it hang, and come back in would be my guess.
Now, does John maybe play for Pat's bowl there? Could actually knock it out. No, maybe just for 3 if he's sat, but might just go for the 2, hey?
Yeah, I think I would definitely be going for the 2 to try to play it safe and stretch this lead out a little more. It's early, so I mean, if you wanted to be adventurous, you could, but personally, I'd be playing it safe.
The wind has definitely picked up here in this second set.
How's it ever?
Yeah, the flags are almost straight out. Only half of them though, which is a little strange, but
yeah, were commenting on that yesterday, that the shrubbery really blocks a whole chunk of the wind.
That's kind of neat.
So John came up a little bit short there. I don't think that was enough to really change much.
I think they're only looking at one.
One red.
One red.
So John's changing things up here. He's brought the mat up quite a pace, which I'm actually really shocked that these two haven't been doing the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a fair bit of playing around with mat length, and there's been more jack length measurement calls here than I've ever seen before, as the umpires have been very busy.
Yes, yeah. And they all seem to come at once too, which never fails. They
Yeah.
get 2 or 3 going at a time.
Yep.
Although kind of nice with this format, that doesn't much matter. There's no time limit on these games, which allows players to kind of play at their own pace, which is very nice.
Yeah, time limits aren't really needed for sets play, as almost all the games here have been finishing in 2 hours or less for the most part.
And we're doing a bit of a rolling schedule too, so you're, well, except for in the playoffs, I guess, but
Yeah.
you would never be playing 2 back-to-back.
Right.
So, didn't much matter in that sense either.
I think Pat's looking to just change his mojo here. He took off his sweater, but is putting back on his Alberta jacket, so that's not much of a temperature change, I wouldn't think, but maybe just a little superstition, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Wasn't feeling the white top and wanted to rep the Alberta colors.
So might see this headwind kind of affect pulls here, because it's actually a bit of a kind of a cross coming off that ditch hand to the head.
Beautiful bowl there from Pat.
Yeah, great start.
The jacket works. It's kind of interesting that John's in shorts and a t-shirt and Pat's wearing a jacket and pants.
Yeah. It's that's probably the Icelandic jeans there paying off.
Pretty good counter there from John. Just a little too far, but that's a good place to be.
Great position.
Pat's looking pretty consistent here.
Wow, playing very steady there.
It's a good caterpillar.
John maybe playing a little aggressive here. A little wide.
Yeah, that hand does not want to come back for him. Once he gets out past a certain point, it just hangs. Not sure what Pat was looking at there. He was looking directly sideways. Not sure who he was watching. Maybe the green next door, as David James and Bob both have the mat up almost the exact same length.
Yeah, kind of interesting that they've both chosen that exact spot.
Do you like to bring it up right up to the hog line, or do you like to leave yourself some space, or are you particular about where you bring the mat up?
I might give myself like 1 meter, 2 meters off the hog, but no, if I'm pulling the mat up, I'm usually going to be pulling it straight up unless I'm feeling that mid-length and just want to change the lines. But no, I like to. I feel that sends a pretty like bold message, which I like that kind of play. Maybe that's just me though. This looks like Pat might actually be drawing in for 4 here.
Yeah, big chance here. Not sure if I would have been driving on that last blow, but I think John might have been getting frustrated with that hand as it just wasn't coming back for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's
looks like 4.
4 for Pat. That's a really good caterpillar drill right there.
Yeah.
All 4 of them relatively close to the same.
The comeback's going to be important here for John.
Yeah, you got to make sure that you don't let that phase you and that you just sort of shake it off and start fresh the next end.
Yeah. Pat may be playing a little mat games here. Pulled his own, brought the mat with him there instead of leaving it down at this end. I know when we were in Edmonton for the singles, I guess 4 years ago or 3 years ago now, Bob played Jesse Wilkinson, I believe his name is, from Alberta.
Okay.
And Jesse played with bringing the mat back and forth, and actually I was talking to Bob later at dinner, and it really affected how he was playing. It was something that he wasn't used to and got out of his comfort zone, which was kind of strange.
Really?
And I know in Australia that's usually how they play, kind of carrying that mat with them. But when I was there, I was very insisting that I wanted both mats at both ends, and we are going to use both. So
I guess it's a bit of a change if you've never done it before, but I found that after playing like that one game, I quite enjoyed just using the one mat. It
speeds things up a little bit.
It does.
Don't have to wait if you chase your bowl. You don't have to wait for the mat to be coming after you.
That's the only kicker, is that when you're the last one to throw, you have to remember to bring it with you.
Yeah.
I know I was talking with Don earlier, and he was thinking that for next year they might want to reduce the time limits even more, as at the Multi-Nations event they played 18 ends of pairs and triples in 2 hours and 15 minutes, and right now our time limit is 3.5, which is excessive. Next year that's being cut down to, I believe, 2.5 for pairs and 2:45 for fours. But for the fours at the Multi-Nations event, they played 15 ends of fours and 2 and 15. Most teams there wanted to play the full 18 ends.
Yeah, so we'll be 2.5 hours next year during round robin.
I believe he said that none of the pairs games ever really even came close to that 2 hour 15-minute time limit at Multi-Nations. So.
No. Well, pairs, especially 3-bowl pairs, I find is such a fast-paced game.
Oh, absolutely.
I really enjoy that format.
Me too. Me too.
I know some people are a little hesitant about it here. We were talking about that competition review. Have it right in front of us actually today, but I think that once you get to try it out a few times, it's quite interesting. A lot of fun. Different strategy to it.
I feel it takes a whole lot more skill when you have less bowls.
One that makes those upweight shots a little more finesse and fine-pointed.
Absolutely despise 3-bowl triples, because when you're the skip, it's almost impossible to miss when you're playing an upweight shot, because there's so many bowls on the green.
Yeah.
Really benefits the weaker player, in my opinion.
A lot more chance involved in that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Great effort from my John there.
Yeah, beautiful receiver there. Now he's...
Make a little contact on Pat, would be probably the play here.
Yeah, I think so. That whole competition review is actually online right now. The English version's already there. The French version is just finishing up translation today, so it should be there shortly.
And we're talking about the singles next year will be a little bit different, with each province getting an allotted amount that gets to go.
Bigger provinces get a few more entries than the smaller provinces, just based on numbers, which makes sense to me.
Yes, definitely does. So looking here, I guess BC and Ontario will both be sending 4, hopefully, to the singles. Alberta and Saskatchewan and Nova Scotia will get 3. Manitoba, Quebec, and 2. And then New Brunswick, PEI, and the host will also get an additional 1. That's a good way to put it, keep it balanced. I know there were some comments earlier in the week about how many Manitobans were here, and vice versa. I'm sure when it was in Alberta and BC, a lot go there as well.
Yeah, when it's close to home, a lot more people sign up.
Which is definitely fair, and I think that's actually something that was focused on in the competition review, was making these kind of events more affordable for players, and that's why one of the big reasons why it was elected to be playing the singles right after the majors, cut out a couple days of travel, less days of work off.
Yep. All valid points. It's been a growing concern, is that it's not that affordable for the hosts, the players, or for Bowls Canada either. So
no,
one of the many concerns that we looked at was how to make it a little more affordable for everyone involved.
Well, I know this year actually I took most of August off work to be bowling, which is just how the competitions fell. But definitely next year, and looking at the schedule right now, it's maybe only a week and a half off, which is nice.
I know there are definitely a whole lot of confusion from some of the players about what they can play in and what they can't play in next year, as there are some restrictions. So I would strongly recommend that you actually read that competition report cover to cover at least once, if not more, so you can actually understand it, because I've heard many people who are adamant about something that they're not correct on. So make sure you read it and understand it before going and telling other people what they can and can't play in.
Yeah, one of the good ways to make sure that everyone's kind of informed about that, for sure. And it's a nice condensed. It's only, I think you guys condensed it down to a nice 40-page document, which seems a little bit excessive right now, but there's a lot of really important information, and it's all laid out really nicely for you there. So.
And it's actually probably a quick read if you're not looking at everything. I know for many of the bowlers, the youth championships probably don't affect them that much, so
True,
they might not be spending a whole lot of time reading through those pages.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the big thing that I will probably stress on is that those restrictions take place at the national level. I've heard a lot of people complaining that they want to play in more provincials, but I mean, if you don't make it through to the nationals, then by all means you can play in as many provincials as you want, unless there are provincial restrictions, but those restrictions are there at the national level.
Yeah, I know that was a big concern in Manitoba for sure, given that we don't have a huge competitive pool of players here, and a lot of people were worried that it would affect our numbers, but definitely does not affect it.
At most it just affects, I guess, the 4, maybe 6 people that are playing at the national level who have gone through once already.
And so how does it work? If someone only qualifies for the singles, are they restricted now to play at the seniors and mixed pairs, that too?
If
at the national level, of course. But
yeah, so the national level for the singles, then you're now restricted to the other...
So just the pairs and the fours?
Yeah, just the pairs, fours, and the indoor singles as well. There's a specific terminology, I'm trying to remember what it was called, the excellence stream, actually, and that's based off of what other sports are using, actually.
Just taking a look at that earlier today.
If you are an Olympic sport, one of the requirements from Own the Podium in Canada is that you identify 3 stages that are a pathway to be able to get to that Olympic podium. So for us, we've identified that's train to excel, train to compete, and learn to compete. So we're using the same terminology that other Olympic sports are using when we call it the excellence stream, as that's the pathway that those would follow if they're looking to be the best of the best of the best. So we've identified that the majors, the outdoor singles, the indoor singles, and actually even the youth championships are all part of that pathway. So to try to make it more developmentally friendly, we're saying, hey, if you're along that pathway, you're not going to be able to play at the national level in the mixed pairs of the seniors, as those two don't line up in that pathway. So this way it gives more people a chance. As one of the major complaints that we've heard time and time again is, why on earth would I enter the mixed pairs when someone who just won the majors and just won the seniors is going to be there? I don't stand a chance. So this way it ensures that the best of the best aren't necessarily going to be competing at the mixed pairs of the seniors. Makes it a little more friendly for those who are looking to develop.
And I think a great way, like a great start, somewhere to move from. I think at this current system, it's kind of crazy how many people you see going to the majors, the seniors, and the mixed pairs. And then nonetheless maybe playing in the singles or the indoor singles.
Yeah.
Which it's great to see people excelling at that kind of level, but at the same time, it's important to see the sport kind of grow and see more people try. I think a lot of us can attest to the fact that once you start playing at these kind of things, you get a little bit of a bug and want to be back. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's kind of growing on that sport for life kind of idea as well.
And a big thing to remember too is that this is not the be-all end-all. I'm sure there are going to be many changes made after next year and years to come. So I mean, this is more of a starting point than anything else. Still looks like a pretty wide open draw here for John, but I think he's hesitant to play that hand as his bulls tend to hang out and he just can't quite figure it out. And of course, if you ever do have any questions about the competition review, feel free to send us an email. office@bullscanada.com is the email address you can send it to, and we'll make sure someone answers you in a timely manner. Looks like John's finally figured out the line here.
Yeah, it looks like he's got that one down.
What a bowl. Bing.
That's a big shot for him. He's going to be looking to get that mat back and take control of this set again.
So he just picked up the one.
Yeah, some games coming close to conclusion over there. It looks like Jordan Koss is moving on. She'll be playing Jan Robinson, I believe, from Alberta. Bit of confusion with that this morning, but I think that was the final conclusion, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember it all, so I'll trust your memory on that.
Believe that was the correct matchup there. So congrats, Jordan.
I guess I'll tweet that out. That was straight sets.
Yeah. Jerome will be looking to close his game off against Derek Dillon there, sitting 9-2 right now, playing their 8th end of the second set. Looks like Jerome's sitting 2 right now. A score of 1 would be enough to do it for him, though. And Claire Day is giving Mary Wright a good match here. 8-3, playing... playing 8, actually, sorry. A little confused, I didn't play the last end there with their first set. But the winner of that game will be moving on to play Marie Taylor, I believe, right?
Yeah,
I think my memory serves me right there as well.
I believe you're right on that.
And it looks like actually Bob Van and David James Smith are now done their game. David taking that last set. Of course, the two split their first set, so that gives David the win in the set points there. So congrats, David. Moving on to the quarterfinals. Very exciting. Oh, John has a beauty bowl here. Just rest Pat to sit right behind that jack.
That's an unfortunate result for the Van Wellinghams, as both Bob and Betty there lost in the quarters.
Yes, that's too bad, but a great tournament for both of them there to make it through. Pat coming just a little bit wide. That side seems to be holding them up a little bit today. John looking to draw again here. Looks like he's on more or less the same path. Oh wow. Just rest Pat's out. Well, that leaves a nice little pocket for Pat to draw into. Be curious to see if he changes his hands maybe here. Looks like he's considering it maybe.
Wants to come down and take a look, and you will.
Take a look. Just give you guys a look at the head here.
One of the things that I've heard from some of the more experienced players is that you shouldn't be stepping on the mat until your mind is made up what shot you want to do. I saw there Pat was sort of standing there humming and hawing before coming down and take a look. Do you follow that advice?
I definitely do try to, especially in the ends where you're considering takeouts or any sort of upweight, right? I always find, especially after considering an upweight and then electing the draw, you come through quite heavy on the draw. So I always try and make sure that I'm very confident on my shot, on which one I'm playing, and so you're not either pinching something or pulling it in. It's quite difficult sometimes to not be caught between the two shots, right? And make kind of a combination of both of them and end up missing right up the middle.
That's one thing that I've never done. I've always just sort of gone on the mat right away, and then once I've made up my mind, then I get in my groove and go. But that's maybe something I should probably start doing is stay off the mat until you've actually made up your mind which shot you want to do. So once you're on the mat, you can just focus on that.
One interesting, you see a lot of players take that couple steps back from the mat, take a second to center themselves, and then play it. Oh, great effort by Pat there.
That might have rolled one out.
Yeah.
So could just be one for John right now.
I'd be curious to see what the difference between John's front bowl and Pat's front bowl is there. John could be looking to rest Pat's out actually for 4 here on a little, just played that same line, add an extra foot maybe, and you'd be sitting right on Pat's to move it out.
I'm kind of curious what John's going to do here. Do you think he's going to worry about getting any sort of a back bowl now with Pat's last, or do you think he's actually just going to sort of play in there as you were just describing?
I think given the situation right now, I think John's probably going to be looking to get more than one here. You'd like to see it at least tied up going into 8. Set yourself up for a win, because keep in mind John does have to win the set.
That's true.
It comes up short, unfortunately.
Wondering if he was looking to throw a guard there. He was hoping that would cut a little more. I think Pat had a little laugh there with Don, as Don's on the side here watching this game. Definitely a big shot here for Pat. He can really start to put the nails on the coffin if he can come away with the count here.
Yeah, any sort of count would put a lot of pressure, but definitely a 2 would, if you can somehow find a way to carry that jack back, would be a huge score.
I wouldn't expect him to be throwing a whole lot of weight at this. No, not really. He's very controlled into this.
He seems to be looking quite closely at it.
Ooh.
Looks like it went straight to John's, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I think that's still one for Mr. Bjornson.
Yeah, so both players agree to 1 there.
Makes it 6-5. This is going to come down to the wire.
So it looks like Jerome Kirby has taken that set over Derek Dillon. So Jerome will be moving to the semifinals as well. Mike and Kevin, are battling it out in the last end of their second set. Kevin needing a 3 here to tie it up, and that would give him the game. And Claire Day and Mary Wright are flipping coins to play their tiebreaker. So we'll keep you posted on that game. Now last night we were watching Kevin Duswan playing Keenan there from BC, and opening the tiebreak, Keenan scores a 3, and then Kevin scored a 3 right back, which was something we were quite shocked to see, but a great little play there. Ended up scoring 1 or 2 in the last end there to win the tiebreak. So Kevin's used to being down 3 here.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know if I've ever seen before, that you score 3 the first end of the tiebreak and don't actually win the tiebreak.
That's
rough. I also don't think I'd ever seen something quite like Brian Coleman during the round robin. He went to 5 tiebreakers and won them all.
Yeah, that was a great...
So that's a clutch performance.
Clutch. We got the big champion coming by our booth right now, David James. I'm going to take a walk, maybe talking with Don after that game.
Eating a banana, make sure he doesn't cramp.
Yeah, get your potassium in. He's actually just going to sit by himself.
Fair enough. Just wanted to watch this
to
game.
Relax a little bit, yeah. That's he might actually be playing the winner of this game. Maybe why he's interested.
Could be. I'm not sure how that breaks down on the men's side.
Yeah, I was not quite sure either, actually.
John's getting a little bit of insurance back there with that back pull.
Yeah, good call there for sure. Depending on what Pat here does here, he might be actually looking to maybe rest that bull out, give himself a lead going into that last end. Although Pat's not gonna be letting that go. Nice
what
bull.
a bull, and it's now looks like that might be buried behind John's.
Yeah, so John's gonna be switching his hands here. Late in the game though, so hopefully he's accustomed to that side by now.
Don't know if that's close or not.
Looks a little wide.
Does.
Oh,
just didn't
great
finish
effort
on him. He's hustling down, but he doesn't need to because Pat's following him
Pat's
down anyway.
following at a very slow pace too, so.
That's a key bull here for Pat because if he's lying 1, he could have a chance to pick up 2, which would really start to seal the deal and put the pressure on John.
Force John to a perfect end to keep the game going, which is a tough task to do against Pat Bird, to say the least.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Kevin Deuce wants throwing his last bowl here. Might actually be sitting at 2. Looking to draw to force Mike to play his last.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming a little heavy there, unfortunately. So it looks like we're going to have our second tiebreaker of the day today.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them heading in. Mike electing to not throw his last bowl, so they'll be they're heading straight into the tiebreaker now. Looking to flip a coin, probably. Pat Bird sitting 2 down there, maybe?
No, just the one.
Just the one, eh?
John was signaling.
So John's gonna be looking for a 3 this end.
Potentially the last end. Last end of the set, anyway.
Yeah. Pat looks like he's gonna come up a little short here.
Yeah, a little bit. That's definitely not the start you want for the last end.
Although it might actually cover off that center line, might get in John's eyesight. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that affects John too much, but
yeah, it's definitely something to make sure that you know how far away bull and jack are when the bull is short.
Well, the key for John now will be to be at least behind the jack, but drawing close. He's got the one back there now. So if you're John now, do you try and put your next three right on the jack, or do you play behind there? With Pat Bird likely going to be matching all your bowls.
I think I'm still playing, try to get maybe a foot behind the jack, so that way you have a chance to either trail it, or if you're already second, third, and fourth, you can try to just pick Pat's short bowl.
Mm-hmm.
As John is very close here, that's almost exactly probably where I'd be putting it, maybe a foot closer.
I'm sure John was probably looking for a foot closer there as well.
So I guess that first bowl of Pat's must be directly in front of the jack, as Pat was walking off to the disc there to try to see.
Both of them are taking a look.
Pat wants to know which bowl is shot. And it is
Signaling it's Pat's bird.
Pat's first
Pat's
short
bird.
bowl. Pat's bird, yeah.
Oh man.
The bird man. If you're Pat here, are you just looking to try to split up John's bowls behind?
Yeah, likely, or maybe just draw on top of John's would probably not be a bad bowl either. And Pat does have that furthest back bowl, which definitely helps him right now because it makes it quite a difficult shot for John. And doing that's probably not the worst option either.
Don't know if I like that bowl at all, to be honest, because now John just has to come down and tap it.
Yeah,
and it
true.
squirts back out. He could be lying one or two, but John wanted to know if he's right on it, and he is. So now just needs a little
Any
tap.
contact there, yeah.
Although I think John might actually be switching hands, looking to draw it off. Because he could still just trail it on the other hand, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and any contact on that bowl there. Although we have seen this side hold on John a little bit today, so. Plus he's likely going to be throwing a little bit up at it. What's he got here?
Could be close. What a bowl.
Oh, wow, great
what
shot.
What a bowl.
I might be sitting two out of that, actually.
I think he is lying two, and he needs at least three to force the tiebreak. So Betty actually dropped her pencil on the green.
I know,
there.
I noticed
I
that
wonder
too.
if anybody's going to catch that, because that could be a nice resting spot. Oh, she noticed. Now John is sitting pretty right about now. I'm not sure what you're going to do if you're Pat.
Maybe looking to draw that back bowl of John's again, maybe.
I think so. Anything sort of in line.
Oh, Pat's just
with the
bowl
jack.
just fell, actually, so I wonder if that changes anything.
Yeah, he's going to come down and take a look
Yeah,
again now
there
that
it
fell
is.
over. Two more rollovers and it'll be right on. I think I definitely want to be drawn down to John's back bowl there.
Yeah.
That makes it very difficult for John to get three out of it.
Yeah, you really split his bowls up at that point, so.
You definitely don't want to be short and giving him a wing or anything to play off of.
No.
Looks like Claire Day picked up one in the first end of that tiebreak.
Yeah, he had a nice little tight head there, I was noticing, so.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like Kevin might have picked up the first shot of that tiebreaker over there.
Yeah, I think so. I think Pat's electing to play his backhand here. Try to draw around down to John's.
It's the side he's been playing this end, so makes sense.
Definitely not short on this. Just a little too far.
Oh, no. So John might be drawn for the set win here.
It's tough to tell if he is actually lying two, though. His back bowl might be a little too far back. I'm not sure. Because they've both been using their fingers on it, so it might not be a guaranteed two there right now.
Mm-hmm.
So Kevin Dusselon did pick up one in the first end of that tiebreak, and his jack was a little too short. So Mike's going to bring the mat way back.
John switching hands here, maybe.
Maybe.
So interestingly, I think he threw his second bowl on his forehand, his third bowl on his backhand, and he's switching back to his forehand again.
All in the weight here.
I don't know
Did
if
he
it has
throw
it. Oh,
Did he throw it? Did he
Oh,
throw
he
it?
did. Great bowl.
TD bowl, is that enough though? That's 2 for sure.
Wow.
That ties the set, but he needs the win.
Whew.
Gonna get down and measure.
And given John's reaction, I don't think he's too concerned about it right now.
Yeah, no, so he did pick up 3.
Wow. Great bowls.
So that forces the tiebreak.
That third shot was huge there for John.
That was clutch.
Players are looking for a coin now. You can really see the wind actually affect those coins when they toss them up. It actually comes back to them quite a bit. Looks like Pat won the toss there. So that'll likely give us a chance to finish up all the tiebreakers here.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to let you guys know what kind of results are going on. On the far end of our green there, looked like Mike put the pressure on early in that end, and then Kevin just played a beautiful resting shot to get him out. Oh, and Mike just missed his resting shot, rolling off.
Looks like those two guys are having a
Pretty good battle over there, yeah.
Claire Day is down there to measure and was just sort of moving around on her knees around the green. Kevin's just about drawn. Shot, not quite. So I guess Pat took the mat.
So in a singles game, do you take the mat more often than hammer, or depend?
It depends how I'm playing, but if I'm playing well, normally I will take the hammer, just because I don't really care what length you put it at. I'm so confident that I'm going to be able to beat you, but
Okay,
I guess that's only if I'm feeling real confident in my game overall.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not necessarily that confident, then I'll take the mat and put it exactly where I like it.
Yeah.
You?
I'm always a mat kind of guy. I've always been a draw bowler, so as Daryl teases me about my sizzler for a drive, so no, I prefer to take that mat, get that first bowl pressure on, control the length, and I find that that's at least for me, that's a good way to kind of roll the momentum through the game and really put the pressure on early and keep them on their heels.
I guess it really does depend, because there definitely are some games where I'm feeling it, and so I'll just quickly take the mat and go and do my thing.
Mm-hmm. What I really enjoy then is you really control the tempo of the game.
Yeah.
In between ends, right? You grab the mat quickly and start playing it that way.
So looks like Mary Wright picked up 2 to make it 2-1 as they go into the final end of their tiebreak.
That'll be an exciting finish over there.
Yeah. Kind of curious how they're playing this direction, though. Wouldn't you be finishing down at the other end?
Yeah, they didn't play their last end of the first set. That was what confused me
Gotcha.
earlier too.
Gotcha.
So the crowd will get a bit of a show here, hopefully. John's running pretty close there.
Wait for this camera
is blurry again. Yeah.
focus.
Maybe that sun is really affecting it.
I don't know. I guess we'll leave it down here. Taking a good look here. You definitely don't want to be giving up more than 1 if you're not going to count.
No.
Looks like Mike's in trouble here with his last bowl of this second end of their tiebreak.
He's down 1, maybe a second there too.
Down 1 for sure, maybe even 2, and it looks like he's throwing some weight.
It's not liking it, though, I don't think.
No, crashed and might have just brought another one of
Oh.
Kevin's in almost. Oh. Not sure how many that was, but
Yeah,
Kevin
both
counted
kicked them in
again.
quick. Yeah. 2.
So that'll give Kevin a 3-0 lead going into the final end of the tiebreak. So Pat is playing well around to try to get to the tee, I would think, and that is just hanging.
Oh, big hang out there.
I guess that'll suffice for a back pull.
But that is actually quite close to the where the 8 mark would have been this week. So not surprised to see that hold there. That hand was running very straight, so. I guess rather be safe rather than sorry there on Pat. You'd hate to catch a hill and crash into your own or anything like that. So
that's true.
I think John's playing maybe a little bit of weight here.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, definitely a draw bull there.
Not sure if that's going to come back in time.
Doesn't look like it. Oh, wow, it did.
Proved me wrong. Wow.
Great bull.
What a shot.
So the question is, does that bring that top front one of John's there? Does that bring it into count?
Not sure if it does. Pat's using his fingers to look, and he's quick to kick him in and say, "No, just one." Now we saw John bring the mat up once throughout this game, I think.
Oh no, was it 2 actually for John?
Oh, it was 2. Fancy that. He's sticking it right back on the tee.
And so it looks like Mary Wright is moving on to play. I guess that'll be Marie Taylor. I guess. Sorry.
Mary Wright and Marie Taylor. Battle of BC.
Jordan playing Jan later, so that's your women's semifinals are all queued up and ready to go now. Just waiting on our last 2 games here. Mike's got 2 bowls to come here. Be looking to score a 3 at least here. Wow, great bowl by John to start there.
I think he's feeling pretty confident here now after picking up 2 that last end.
Yeah, he'll be looking to score to close it out at this point, but I'm sure Pat Bird will have something to say about that too. Looks like he's playing for that position bowl, which is not a bad spot actually with the bull and the jack right there. Could look to rest or play through.
Kind of surprised by that though. I would have thought that he would have been looking to
be a little closer, maybe
draw it off to start, but I guess he was going for position right off the get-go. And now John is looking
John's gonna follow back here. Great spot for John. We have a little wasp joining us in the booth right now.
Yeah.
So.
Not sure what's going on over there, as
Kevin looks frustrated, so that's might be I think he just might have knocked Mike's in there. So
Might have given Mike a chance to try to tie that last end of the tiebreak.
Tie it or maybe even win it. Maybe with that 4, but
that's definitely not something you want to do in a tiebreak, is give up a perfecto.
No, that's very tough to come back from, especially in the last end of the tiebreaker would be a little bit of a heartbreaker.
John is putting another one in.
Wow, great bowl.
That's a really good bowl. Pat's probably loving that his first one is back at the tee right now, as he can.
Yeah,
he's winding up.
Looking.
He's winding up for this.
Alright, it's looking close.
Got her.
Oh, there you go.
And follow through into the
to
ditch.
Be sitting 2.
To be lying 2. So now John just has to draw down to the tee, which Pat's first bowl is going to be relatively close to.
Yeah, I think it'll be about a foot or 2 out.
Yeah, a couple feet away.
So they're just checking on John's bowl at the side there, whether it's in or out. Umpire signaling it's out.
John just has to draw something close to try to get second. He might draw it off for shot itself, though. This is close.
Very close.
This is close.
Oh,
what
beauty
a bowl.
Wow.
What a bowl.
Jeez. That's huge.
Pat's coming down to take a look at this to see just how close it is, what he's got to do. I'm not sure what happened in that tiebreak between Mike and Kevin. I'm guessing that Mike didn't quite have enough. Yeah, he only got 2. So Kevin Dusablon is moving on to the semifinals.
Fist pump over there, excited about the win.
As he should be. To be moving on to the semis is a good feeling.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So who do we got there? We got David James Smith, we got Kevin Dusablon, and we got Jerome Kirby.
And then the winner of this one, yeah.
And the winner of this game.
So a couple Manitobans in there. I guess Kevin's also moved to Alberta recently, so maybe not a Manitoban anymore.
This is the last game on the green right now, so all eyes on Pat.
Yeah, this is a big bowl for Pat here. I'd like to at least get one. Oh, it looks like he's actually maybe playing down off onto John's bowl here.
I think he is. I think he's inside.
Oh,
outside.
Very close.
I thought he was tight on that. So that's another one for John to give him a 3-0 lead. So now this is interesting, as John has a 3-0 lead going into the last end of the tiebreak. Pat needs 3 to force another end. John just needs to
lock a close one on and match those bowls would be the way to play it.
I think he just threw the jack out of bounds.
A little excited about his lead there, maybe.
Yeah. Well, this is a huge opportunity for Pat to change something up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he moves things. No? Maybe. Not much.
No, not much, no. Just sort of half mat up, and that's about it.
And I think he's playing close
Long,
to a full
I think,
length here,
yeah.
which is interesting. I don't know if I would have done that.
I think he's been feeling more in the groove there. Although you just saw John make a near perfect draw on the full length.
I'm just thinking that if you need to draw or create a pocket of 3 or something, it needs to be past the jack. And if you're playing a full length jack, it doesn't leave you much space.
Yeah, to do so.
So I probably would have been playing quite short there, if that were me. It's a pretty good opener there from John.
Oh, great ball, yeah.
Pat's going right back close to the tee. Would be surprised if John tries to follow him down here now.
Yeah. John looks like he's got a lot of pace on this one.
It's hanging out there though.
Caught in that straight spot.
Yeah, and he's just wishing that would come back in. And it's not.
It's still in play at least. Pat would likely be playing, I guess, his forehand to be resting that jack out anyway, so maybe if he catches a piece of it, it might be... John will be hoping it slices to his. Pat coming a little short there.
Be surprised if Pat wants to go down and have a look before he throws his third bowl here. I want to scope out this around and see what he needs to do. That's a
nice ball by John there.
good ball from John. Yeah, Pat's going to go down and take a look at that. This is going to be tough to get 3 out of.
Yeah, definitely tough. I think maybe before the end there, Pat was talking with John about whether he thought the 3 was possible. Both bowlers have been playing very steady. I don't think we've seen more than... I think we did see a 4-ender maybe. One early by Pat, and that's
Yep,
that's
right.
been it for the game. Though it's been a very tight. You might see a 3, but the way they've been playing the last few ends is definitely going to be a tough task.
So if you're Pat right now, do you look to make that shot now and throw a drive, or do you try to draw another back bowl and save it for your last?
Yeah, you know, I might draw another back one.
I think I would too.
Kind of don't want to show your hand too soon and give John a chance to cover it off.
Also gives you a chance on in case John does draw one back through that, maybe your shooter can come through onto John.
Yeah.
If need be, but I'm not sure. Maybe.
Oh, wow. So now this actually leaves Pat an opportunity to maybe, depending on what John does, rest John's bowl out for 3.
So now if you're John, you definitely want to get another one in the head, try to maybe draw first or second shot.
Yeah, well, that same bowl of John's would land right on Pat's last bowl, so...
So he just needs to throw almost the same bowl.
I guess we hadn't actually considered the possibility of maybe just resting 2 bowls out, easy peasy, and sit 3.
Does John switch stance again?
No, I think he's sticking to the same hand that he played. Yeah, he's heavy. And caught out there again.
Caught out in that straight rut. That's got to be frustrating to have 2 of your bowls. That's 50% stuck out in that straight rut, not where you wanted them. So if you're Pat, you just have to come across and try to roll John out.
Yeah, maybe Pat take maybe a couple inches off that line. That weight's probably what he wants again, hey?
Mm-hmm. And it is the last bowl at the end here, so John can't counter if he does make it.
Be interested though. That bowl of Pat or John's that he's looking to rest is just inside the center, so maybe see the bowls react a little different once they get across center.
Here we go. Pat's thinking it might be wide.
Oh, wow, well, a great game for the two of them there.
So John Bjornson will be advancing on to the semis over Pat Bird, giving him his first loss.
A tough way to go out there, go undefeated, and then lose out in the quarters is too bad.
It is, but that's the way she goes.
So in our semifinals, we'll have John Bjornson, David James Smith, Kevin Dusablon, and Jerome Kirby playing off. And then in the women's semifinals, we have Mary Wright, Marie Taylor, and Jordan Koss, and Jan Robinson.
That's right. So we'll be back. I think we'll be streaming the women's semifinals. So that's around 12:30, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
So that gives us about an hour and a half. Thanks for commentating with me, Robbie. Appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back at 12:30.